failures in the Parkland school massacre.
A warning, if there are children in the room, the content here may be disturbing.
Well, with all the screeching recently about Vladimir Putin and Russia and treason.
By the deadline is a couple of days before the debate. Are you concerned about that?
No.
Jimmy, my emails are so boring.
We came, we saw, he died.
I don't want to see him impeached. I want to see him in prison.
On this Memorial Day, as our nation honors its unbroken line of fallen heroes, and I see many of them in the audience here today.
We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that.
I tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
Everyone, this is Jazz, your friendly computer assistant, and the producer of this ridiculous show. Well, before we get started, we have a couple of rules to go over. Absolutely no doxing anyone, and no threats at all. Also, no talking about anyone's children. Other than that, have a great time. And now, the one you've all been waiting for, the Jew with all the shekels. Your host, Steve Pinder.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful time preparing for the greatest day in America, which is tomorrow. And I got to tell you, I really can't wait for this. I really, really can't wait for tomorrow. Going to be doing the whole fireworks thing here, but I have to tell you, we wouldn't have these wonderful, wonderful holidays like we do, like the 4th of July, if it wasn't for all the soldiers who help us keep it. So a big thank you to all the people that have served our nation and have kept freedom all over the world and fought all those wars for the Jews. We just got to love you. I had to say it. I know. I had to say it. Yeah. Let me get quickly into the chat here to say hi to everybody. Eggman Eggs, first one in. Thank you so much for stopping in. Roy, you're late. Texas Red is here. Sergeant Peterson is in the house. William Worthington, so glad you're here. I heard you weren't feeling too good yesterday. Let's see who else we got. We got Shamrock. Always a pleasure having Shamrock here. Hopefully she can call in and give a good argument today for later on when we do the battle of the sexes with the I Want My Rib Back episode. That'll happen later on. Let's see here. We got Papa Jude. Ozark Hillbilly is here. So glad you're feeling good tonight and that you're able to stop in and hang with us. Made in Texas. Awesome. Love the name. Made in Texas. That's just awesome. Yeah, let's see who else we got here. We have Ed Ramirez. How's it going? Miko Max in the house. Pastry Beer. Hey. Now, I am going to wait. Now, hopefully, CJ said he would call in right after the introduction, so hopefully he's going to call in. If not, I'm just going to get going into the topic. I was really waiting. Like I said, I tried to contact him just before the stream, and I got no help. So I'm hoping he remembered. I reminded him at noon today. We texting back and forth. I said, "You ready for tonight?" And yeah, he was all ready. And we talked whether he wanted to do video or phone. He said phone, so it's fine. Phone makes it a lot easier. There's less setup time. But I'm going to go ahead and start on the topic, and hopefully he will free himself up and be able to get here in time to talk with us. So this question came up, and I remember listening to him on his stream, and he was talking about once a person has served their time in prison and they get out, should they get their rights back? And man, that's a very open-ended question, because that's a bigger conversation than just a simple question. It's a much greater conversation because there's a lot of particulars. It is very case by case. Oh, thank you so much, Greta. Thank you for that super chat. Greatly appreciated. So, my question is, now obviously we're talking felons. Should a felon, when he has served his time, be allowed to vote? Now, I say if they've served their time, why not? If they've served their time and they've paid the price for their crime, should they be allowed to vote again? Is it subjective to what type of crime it was? Because let's face it, just because they're out of prison doesn't mean the crime wasn't heinous. I know in Rhode Island, a murder one conviction is a life sentence. They don't have the death penalty there, the life sentence. But you know what the life sentence is in Rhode Island for murder one? 20 years. That's a life sentence. So someone can get out 20 years later, be walking the street after premeditated murder, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be other crimes, like if they used a gun, then it's going to add years onto it, things like that. You know, it's never just one thing. There's other crimes they get convicted of along with it that adds years to it. But and I really, really thought hard about this, and I really wanted to get CJ Grisham's take on this, and that was, is it immediately as soon as they get out, or do they have to prove themselves with, keeping clean for, I don't know, however amount of time you may think? So I have to say that I'm kind of concerned. Are people looking to give these rights back? Well, it's not the only right that CJ was talking about. Obviously, CJ Grisham is a Second Amendment advocate, and he was talking about, well, someone that comes out of prison should get their right to carry a gun again. And I thought, okay, where's the variable in that? Well, yeah, Greta, I'm thinking, yeah, they serve their time, but there's a certain amount of, they're on probation for however long. And I think it has a lot to do with, well, what was the nature of their crime? Were they in jail for a violent crime? No, I'm not. I don't want them to have a gun back. Now, everybody makes mistakes when they're younger, and there are some people that went to jail at 18 and 19 years old because they did something stupid. and they spent, 10, 15, 20 years in jail, and they get out, and I say, if they get out of jail and they have absolutely zero problems with police, no interaction, like no crimes being convicted of or anything like that for 10 years, if they can stay, because let me tell you something, that says a lot. If someone gets out of jail and they can say, and they can stay clean from any problems with the law for 10 years after they get out, then I say, yeah, absolutely. They've proven to society that they are rehabilitated to the extent of everyone else, and yeah, reinstate. But if someone did a heinous crime, a violent act, like, say, rape, or rape with a gun, if your crime included a firearm in it, I'm not so sure I want them ever to get their rights back to have a firearm. These people that rape someone at gunpoint or something like that, hold a gun to someone's head, or rob a convenience store, shoot somebody. Think about it. Well, if the person didn't die, he's not going to get, the death penalty, so he's going to get out someday. Should they get their Second Amendment right back? That is the discussion I really want to have with CJ, and I really hope that he calls in, and I wonder if he's lurking just to see what I'm going to talk about, because I told him what the subject was, and I'm really, really hoping that he gets involved with this. And I know we have a bunch more people in here, so let me go ahead and jump in here and say hi to some of the new people. I hope, if I don't get you all in when I say this, please start to tell me that I missed you. Okay, we have Greta that showed up, and thank you so much for Super Chat again. MD is here. Let's see, we have QT. Skyhawk is here. Let's see, these are all the new ones that came in. Checkers X, thank you for stopping in. Andrew Kelly is here. Ian Bear Pig 7, okay. Well, Ian, okay, there's a good question right there, and I'm sorry I missed that. What about people who are considered mentally ill by the state? Should they be allowed to buy guns after 10 years and not being put in a mental hospital? No, see, this is what I'm saying, Ian. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I think this is not one of those where it's like, you're going to, as soon as you get out of jail, you get all your rights back. No. I don't have a problem with someone after they've served their time voting again. But you have to think about this. A crime is someone... Oh, God, Kumanita, really? A crime is someone that basically took someone else's rights away. That's the victim crime. We talk all the time with the auditors about victimless crimes and just basically fundraising for the police department and the state. That's really all they're doing. Okay, but we're talking about crimes that involve a victim. If there is a victim involved, someone that disregards someone else's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is where the argument lies that should they get their rights back for, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Obviously, they care about someone else's. That's the argument for this, or I should say against this. Well, no, see, that's just it, Iron Bear Pig. No, if someone goes to the mental hospital for 2 weeks because they said they were Jesus and tried to fly but can't buy a gun. No, see, I don't, like I said, I mean, there has to be some kind of, per situation where this is figured out what exactly is going on. It can't be just written, okay, if you've done this crime, you will never get your gun rights back. Well, if you've done this crime, no. You know what I mean? It has to be a case-by-case basis, I really believe. I don't believe that someone that comes out of jail after doing a violent crime, like raping someone or, like I said, robbing a store and shooting someone or something like that, you shouldn't get your gun rights back. If your crime included a gun, and I'm talking about a real crime, not like someone let their license expire accidentally without realizing it for their open carry or their concealed carry, and they got caught with their gun. Okay? I'm not talking about that kind of thing. That is not a crime to me. That's someone that let their license expire. Okay? But people have gotten in trouble with that. Well, yeah, it needs to be case by case, Ian Bear Pig. Absolutely. Absolutely. Legalize. Thanks for stopping in. Fred is in the house now. Boulder is here so we can begin, right? I'm trying to read everybody's comments. Steve Tunis is here. Thanks for stopping in. Contrary to popular belief, the Wild West had less crime. Absolutely. There weren't as many gunfights as people think there were. No. There were not as many gunfights. I'm sorry if everybody came in here to see CJ because he told me he was going to call in, and I hope everything's okay because he doesn't seem like the type of person that would just drop the ball after saying to me earlier in the day that he was going to stop in. He just doesn't come across that way to me. Norco, safety man, thank you for stopping in. Pocket pull in the park restricts me from owning a gun. Thoughts? Well, if you have abstained from playing pocket pool in the park for 10 years, QT, you should get your gun rights back. How's that? Oh, wow. Alaska allows felons to have firearms. They just can't buy them at a dealer because of federal law. Oh, that means they can get them from someone else. Okay. So they're allowed possession, just not purchase. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I know. I heard that, Gret. I heard him earlier today saying he was going to be here tonight. So I'm hoping. I keep on checking our message string that we had going back and forth, and I don't see him responding to me. So I'm hoping he's able to call in because I would love to get his take on this. Yeah, Alaska's huge. Yes, CJ is in the same time zone as me. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Scooter. Thank you. I hope he didn't forget, and I hope he's not running around trying to fix problems because CJ he's that kind of a dude. He's an absolute sheepdog. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I already did, Roy. Absolutely. I shot him a text. Now, there are some instances, like if you own a farm and you come out, and you come out of jail or something, for whatever reason is, there has to be something like, hey, you can have a gun on your farm. Hey, Flo. Dude, thank you so much. I saw that video and I had commented on it a couple of days ago that you had put up, for me and my daughter and everything. And my God, brother, I love you. You're awesome. Dude, I can't say enough about you, Flo Rider. You're just the greatest dude and a good friend. So I really appreciate that. Oh, he's looking for my number? I thought it's right in the text message. Hold on, guys. Let me post it. Oh, that's bad. Okay, CJ, if you're here, there's the number, brother. I just posted it up on the screen if you're watching. Please call in, man. Please, no one else call in. Let CJ call in. I was hoping to get a sound check with him. If he's not on here, I'm gonna send it to him. Oh, geez, he thought I was calling him. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta send him the number. I'm sending him my regular number and not the one that's up on the screen. Here we go. Hey, CJ, do I got you here? Uh-oh. Hold on. Do I got you? I can hear something.
Hello?
Hey, CJ. Can you hear me? Oh, no. What happened? No. Oh, that's it. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, hold on. I got to call him back. My bad. Okay, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Yeah, I had one of the buttons switched out on me, and then, yeah, I had this thing all set up. Okay. CJ, I'm so glad I got you here. We've been talking a little bit about the topic, and I know you had mentioned it a little while ago on your stream, but before I get into that, I would like, because there are some people that I've had to tell them about you because they may not be on your channel, but they're on mine. So I would like you to tell everybody that I have in the stream, we got about 35 people in there right now, just exactly who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm nobody special. I'll start off with that. Just a hard-headed soldier. I just retired from the Army about 3 years ago, and then I went back to college. I was a counterintelligence special agent in the Army. I worked mostly in counterterrorism, but I also did the first thing I did when I joined was I was a Spanish linguist, so I worked in South America on mostly counter-narcotics missions. And after the USS Cole bombing in 2000, I went into counterterrorism. And while I was in training for that, 9/11 happened, which kind of cemented what I wanted to do there. And so I fought in Iraq, went to Afghanistan. I didn't do any fighting in Afghanistan. I was just stuck on the base because I was injured in Iraq and I wasn't allowed to leave the base after in Afghanistan. And then retired from the Army and went back to school to finish my degree in history and political science. And now I'm getting ready to start law school. I didn't used to be a big gun guy necessarily until 2013. I was sort of thrust into the gun rights movement. I've always been a pro-gun person, an advocate for gun rights. But in 2013, after a false arrest, while hiking with my son, I became a pro-gun activist instead of just an advocate, and started Open Carry Texas in 2013, and been doing that ever since, kind of traveling the country, even helping other gun rights groups in other states as well, kind of get a little more active and engaged. And now I'm trying to move on to the next phase of my life, which one of the things I've noticed is it's very difficult to find a good attorney that will do pro bono work for civil rights stuff because it's expensive.
Yeah,
it's time consuming. It's not something that, a lot of the people that are affected by civil rights abuses by our government can't afford a good attorney, and civil rights cases are generally pretty difficult to fight. You've got to have a pretty good case if you're going to make any money off of it. And so most attorneys just don't do that. And so meanwhile, the little guy gets screwed over because he can't get good representation. He's been screwed by the system and nobody will take his case. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to be that guy. So one of the blessings, I guess you could call it that, of being injured in Iraq is my disability and my retirement allow me to not need a job. I mean, I'm definitely not rich by any means whatsoever, but I live on my family farm and I don't need another job. So if I become an attorney, I can take cases and help people and do it on a contingency. And you know what? If we lose, none of us are out any money, and if we win, we both make money. So that's what I'm doing now. That's my next phase, is to try and help the civil rights movement, both First Amendment activists and Second Amendment activists, as well as people who have had any other rights violated. And there's my story. I really believe in the Constitution. When I joined the military, I don't care what people think about the military or what we do in the military, but as for me personally, I believed in that oath, and I lived and worked my career in the military in service to that oath. As a matter of fact, I was the first. When I became a platoon sergeant, was the first time I'd ever seen Constitution training in the military, and that's because I was the one giving it to my soldiers. And so that's just something that I always believed in, is teaching my soldiers why they were fighting, what their oath meant to them, what the Constitution meant to them, and the fact that when you wear a uniform of this country, whether it's at the local level, law enforcement or city council or whatever, but when you wear a uniform of this country, then everybody you come in contact with is your boss. And you need to treat them with respect and deference and recognize that you're an employee of the people. And that's how I raised my troops, and that's how I lived my life.
Well, I have some people in the chat that are just showing you a lot of respect. Brian King says, tell CJ I said much respect. Yes, good friend, good man. A lot of people love the fact that you served our country. You gave it everything you could, and now you're back here fighting for our rights again. And before I even get into the topic that we were just talking about, because I know it's something you've done before, I want to ask you a couple of questions. How instrumental were you in helping getting open carry passed here in Texas?
Well, I like to say that I'm a little rudder on a very big ship. I'm steering a lot of people. I will say I don't like to take credit for getting open carry passed. What I will say is that Open Carry Texas got open carry passed, but that's because of the work of hundreds and thousands of Texans that hit the street, went out there, they strapped on their AR-15 to make a statement, to make a point, to hand out literature, to walk in local parades, to stand on a street corner with a sign or a flag, to walk into the legislative session and testify or write a letter or write an email or make a phone call or send us money. So Open Carry the reason we have Open Carry in Texas is because of Open Carry Texas. Now, I realize I'm the founder of that, but I cannot do that alone. So yeah. I was not very instrumental other than helping to organize other people to be instrumental.
Yeah, I know that's very humble of you, okay, but you have to understand that how many people you have basically motivated about this by not just saying, hey, do this, you go out and you do it, and you've motivated me, and I used to never open carry. I would open carry on my ranch, and then I started open carrying in restaurants because I don't like sitting in a chair and thinking I'm going to have to reach for my gun and pull up my shirt while sitting, because that can get caught on things. So I like to have my gun out in the open so I can grab it. So I started open carrying there. And if I am doing, walking down the road, back roads and stuff, there's snakes, there's, coyotes, there's things that can run out and bite you. So, and I've had to kill a couple of moccasins with my sidearm before. I carry a 1911 just like you. So I carry a full-size 1911, and yeah, I've had to use it a couple of times, and especially when I'm on the farm. I don't go near my farm without carrying. So you've actually inspired me to do that, and I've done some open carries here at the memorial in Crowley, and I've videoed that. But now I'm going to move towards the topic here. I really want. What's that?
And one more thing, if I can. So before, I've always been very active in many different things. Mm-hmm. So I had a blog for many years, and the way that I really first got into the public spotlight was through my military blog, which is asoldiersperspective.com. Mm-hmm. And I wrote about when I got back from Iraq, I was having issues with dealing with people. I realized that obviously I didn't change, but everyone else in the world had changed. And when I got back from combat, and I really had trouble dealing with those issues, and so I started writing on this blog, and I started sharing my journal, and then I started writing about political issues, and then I got stationed in the D.C. area, and there were all those protests against troops. People were calling troops murderers and talking about stuff that happened while in Iraq. Well, I was there. I saw, they were accusing soldiers of setting up snipers' nests in minarets. And I actually had photos of Iraqis in minarets shooting at people. And so I started going up against Code Pink, going to their rallies and getting loud. And then I got stationed in Alabama, and I started really fighting for parents' rights in education because our local school district was trying to push uniforms on our kids and without the parental input. And so that made a lot of noise and I got to meet President Bush. I got invited to the Obama White House as well for my writing. And that's kind of where it started. But I think I saw someone say, does he have a website? So asoldiersperspective.com is my website. Anyway, sorry. Now,
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. You know, I can't say I've met the president, but I did call Patrick Kennedy up in Rhode Island. I called him a communist to his face on live TV. So that's my claim to fame. So I was an activist up north, a Second Amendment activist. Now, personally, I love the First Amendment, but the Second Amendment is what ensures all of them. If we don't have that, we won't have our First Amendment. So I tend to lean more towards Second Amendment activism because that's, to me, it seems like the most important. The person with the gun gets the talk. So,
well, and we like to say in Open Carry Texas, we're not even a gun rights group. Obviously, our byline is more gun rights for Texas. But what we like to tell people is we are a civil rights organization with a focus on the Second Amendment, because without the Second Amendment, obviously we need the First Amendment to push our Second Amendment message. We need our Fourth Amendment in order to be free to continue doing that message without being harassed and stopped and searched and seized. You need your Fifth Amendment because when we're falsely arrested. So all of those things are interrelated. And but you're right. I think it's funny when people say, oh, the First Amendment, there's a reason it's first. Well, there's not a reason. The 10 Amendments are not ranked by order of importance. Otherwise, the 9th and 10th would be number one.
Yeah, probably.
And of course, the second is sort of, I look at the second as a giant umbrella that the rest of them fall underneath.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. The table of diplomacy. No one goes to the table of diplomacy unless they are backed by arms. You don't get a seat at that table, ever. You everyone else, if you don't have arms and someone else is protecting you, then they get to go to the table and you get to watch. So I've always believed that. Like I said, no one takes a country serious until they start waving nukes around. Then all of a sudden everyone takes them seriously. So I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, if you have a gun, you get to sit at the table of diplomacy because you have a voice. So again, the one thing that I wanted to bring you on is because I remember on your stream you were talking about people that have served their time being able to being able to gain their rights back. Now, I know that's not a blanket statement, and I would like you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I actually think it is a blanket statement. My thoughts are this. There is only one place and one place only that I don't believe people should have a right to carry guns, and that's in prison or jail, whichever. I mean, prison, jail, same thing. Anywhere else, if you are not in a cage because you committed a crime and you're doing your punishment, or you're engaged in your punishment. So let's say that you were found guilty, but in lieu of prison, you were given 10 months probation or 10 years probation, whatever. Well, then I can understand during that probationary period, while you're serving your time, that you don't have your rights. But my thoughts are, if you are safe enough to be in public, then you're safe enough to have your rights returned. And that's unconditional for me. I don't care if you're released because of a murder. I don't care if you're released because you stole a thing of deodorant. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because my thoughts are that if someone is truly a threat, for example, a murderer, a violent criminal, then they should not be in public. However, if we are going to release them, then we have to assume that the system worked and that the person that we released has learned a lesson. And if they haven't learned a lesson, then we have a problem. And that problem is that our judicial system or our penal system isn't doing what our penal system should be doing, which is rehabilitate people instead of just coddle them. And, we make prison something that nobody's afraid of. I mean, hell, there are people that go to prison because it's too hard to live life on the outside.
This is true.
And, you got to pay bills, you got to feed your family, you got to have a job. But man, when you're in prison, you can just be a badass and work out all the time, and you get fed, and you've got a place to sleep. And so I think we need to reform our penal system and make it to where, okay, if someone is a murderer, then that murderer needs to have some very swift justice. I mean, I used to be a fan of the death penalty. I'm not anymore because I don't trust our courts.
Oh, neither do I. I don't believe in the death penalty. I don't, because I don't.
Yeah.
How many people have been convicted and have served 20 and 30 years only to be found innocent later on? And that makes me think, how many people have been put to death? So innocent people. So yeah, I'm there with you on that. I just,
the only time I support the death penalty is, I mean, if there is video of a man murdering somebody and it's plain as day, you got the right guy. Look, here he is. Then by all means, put that man to death.
Yeah.
But 99% of the time, when we're going off circumstantial evidence or there's no eyewitnesses and they, no, I no longer support the death penalty like I used to, because I've seen the court system. I mean, hell, I've never broken the law once, but yet I now have a Class B misdemeanor on my record because of a flawed court system. Yeah. I was found guilty of a crime I didn't commit. I was found guilty of a crime that a police officer created out of thin air. When I got arrested in Olmos Park, hell, they really tried to throw the book at me, because not only did they try to kill me, they didn't realize that I really have a hard head and it's going to take more than concrete to get through it. But they tried to charge me with felony assault of a peace officer, something that was completely, I mean, thank goodness for all the cameras out there, because I would have been completely screwed. Felony assault on a peace officer, that scared the piss out of me when that magistrate read that charge to me. So I know for a fact, that's why I don't believe in the death penalty anymore. I've come around on that.
Okay. And I agree with you there. I'm not crazy about it, because I just think it's a flawed system. I think we have a flawed jail system, and that's why I may not agree with you right now on people, coming out of jail and, getting their rights back. But at the same time, no one serves a very large jail sentence and comes out free and clear. They usually have they're on probation for a while. And if they can keep them, I mean, say someone is convicted, of burglary or something, okay, and they serve 10 years, and basically come out, and it's like, okay, you've got 5 years, 10 years probation, whatever. If they're fined for 5 or 10 years and they don't commit any crime, and they're sure, absolutely, given their right to carry a gun back. They've served their time. They've proven they're productive in society, and they're not going to hurt anybody. A lot of times, kids that are 18 and 19, they mess up. They do stupid things. Okay, and they come out, yeah, I don't think we should take their rights away for the rest of their life. I think they should get their voting rights back a lot quicker than maybe their gun rights. But once they've proven that they're good in society and they're not going to commit crimes again, I say, yeah, give them their guns back. It's the violent crimes that I'm worried about. The violent rapes and the, people that are held at gunpoint, or someone robs a convenience store and shoots somebody. Things like that. I mean, it's like, I'm kind of concerned here, buddy. You haven't been too good with guns before, so maybe we should wait a little bit and see if you're going to be pretty good in society, and then we'll talk about it, because there are people that have done terrible crimes and then learn their lesson later on, and then they're good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually an exception for me, too, that I'm a little harder on, because if you use a gun to commit a crime, in other words, if you abuse your Second Amendment rights, then there should be a period of loss for that Second Amendment right.
Yeah.
When you abuse liberty, and especially when you abuse liberty to use it against someone else, I'm a little harder. But I also believe that, things like rape should be punished with getting your penis chopped off. So I just think we need to be a little more harsher, so that people are like, hell, I don't want to go to prison, because I'm literally going to be pounding rocks into gravel, and I'm going to be sweating my ass off, and I'm going to be wearing a pink tutu without AC, and I'm not going to get crunchy peanut butter.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So, where do you think Texas is going next? Do you think we're going to start going back in the other direction because everybody's trying to turn this state blue, or do you think we're going to go further? And I ask this because it seems like every time someone goes after our state and our gun rights, it seems like the governor something passes and the governor signs it in like, it's like, oh yeah, we want to take away your guns. And then all of a sudden we hear the governor's passing open carry for pistols. And then it's like, oh yeah, we want to take away your guns. And the governor goes, yeah, you can carry swords too now. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like he's going in the other direction. The more the left fights against and wants to take away our rights, it seems like our governor is on the right path. Do you see constitutional carry in the maybe 5-10 years?
Well, let me tell you this: our governor's not on the right path. We have a governor that will sign if a gun bill is put on his desk, he'll sign it. But make no mistake, Governor Abbott is not a pro-gun Republican. Governor Abbott, I have learned, is an establishment Republican.
Okay,
he did absolutely nothing to get open carry passed. He signed it. Okay, great. Anyone got a pen can sign a piece of legislation.
Okay.
But he did nothing to push open carry. As a matter of fact, it almost died because we were told there was no stomach for it. Constitutional carry. As a matter of fact, I have, and I'm not even it's not even Jonathan Stickland, who I love to death, but a lot of representatives hate. So it wasn't him telling me this. A lot of very reputable establishment Republicans were telling me that Abbott does not support constitutional carry. Why? Because Abbott is in the pocket of the police. Abbott will do whatever the police want. Now, if a bill gets to him, he will sign it. Don't get me wrong, but he's a fair weather guy. If you listen, you will not find Governor Abbott pushing anywhere for open carry. You will not find Governor Abbott anywhere pushing for constitutional carry. We had to fight to get that done, and we almost lost the open carry battle. The thing is that you've got these so-called pro-law and order Republicans who believe that police authority trumps individual liberty, and it's only because of our numbers that we've been able to be as successful as we have. But the police lobby in this state is immense. What happened with this constitutional carry this session, they made up a false story about an activist supposedly going and threatening the speaker's family. That was completely untrue.
Yeah.
But nobody came out and called Dennis Bonnen on it. And the governor didn't do anything. He never said, hey, we need this bill passed. No, he's pushing bathroom bills, and he's pushing other kinds of stupid look what I passed. If there's a natural disaster, I passed a bill that gives constitutional carry for 7 days after a natural disaster if you're in the disaster area. Great. Thank you, Governor Abbott. All I have to do is lose everything, and I get my rights for 7 days. That's a success to you?
That's a really good way of looking at it. And I'm glad you said that, because I didn't understand that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, you get your rights, but really? You have to go through that to get it? And look, I hate to tell them, but when there is a disaster on the coastline and we have bad flooding, do you understand that the police go down there? And I know the police, some of the officers personally, that have gone down there and started handing out and having the shop owners that didn't have a firearm to protect their shops, handing out firearms to them, having them sign for them so they could return them later, and giving them ammo. I know that for a fact that they did that. So, and now all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, constitutional carry, open carry for 7 days after a natural disaster. It's already being done. It was done before. Why they even signed into a bill? The police were going down there and doing this already. I don't understand that. It really didn't make any sense to me.
Well, we have the problem in the state that I have learned, and obviously I'm extremely critical, which is weird. I used to work in law enforcement, but I'm extremely suspicious and critical of cops now. But the street cops are different than the lobbyist cops.
Yeah.
And the chiefs of police and even many of our sheriffs. And the police lobby is out there fighting against our best interests and even law enforcement's best interests And what drives me nuts is a lot of these departments require that these officers be a member of the TMPA, the Texas Municipal Police Association, or CLEAT, which is the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, in order to work on that. Not require, but, it's one of those. When I was in the military, we had what's called the Combined Federal Campaign every year. It was a fundraiser every year to get troops to donate to charity, and you get to choose whatever charity you want, and it automatically comes out of your check for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where commanders, because I was in the command team, commanders had a lot of pressure to get 100% involvement. Even if it was just a one-time $1 donation, you could say, my company donated 100% to this campaign. And again, you can choose whatever charity you want. If you want the NAMBLA Association, then by golly, give to NAMBLA. But it's the same thing with law enforcement. They're kind of pressured into joining these associations. And what these associations are doing is they're turning the people against them because they're pushing laws that make look, we had a bill, not this session, but last session, that would have protected open carriers because all the law said was, look, if the only reason you're stopping somebody is because they're carrying a gun and there's no other criminal contact or conduct, then you can't demand to see their license.
Okay.
And the law enforcement lobby went nuts and defeated this amendment. But in defeating the amendment, the lawmakers made clear on their legislative intent, okay, well, we don't really need this amendment anyway because it's already case law. You can't just stop somebody just because they're carrying a gun to find out if they're licensed. It's unconstitutional to do that.
Okay.
So we kind of got a win while we got a loss. And but what does that do? Well, you've got cops out there who think that, because I've heard this. Oh, well, that amendment failed, so I want to see your ID because now because that amendment failed, you have to show me ID. So what does that do? That creates dissension and contention between the people and the police because the lobbyists didn't protect them. But then, of course, you've got those cops out there doing their thing. But so there are the cops like you're talking about who, and I come across them all the time. Not all of them are almost parked.
Yeah. Oh my God. I still can't get over that video.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away.
There are the cops that you talk about, but the problem is that their supervisors and their lobbyists are turning us against them. I mean, me and Cleet, we have a hate relationship. I absolutely loathe Cleet with the bottom of my heart and consider them a mortal enemy. Not the police officers, but Cleet.
Okay.
That thing needs to go.
I know the organization. I have some friends that are members of that, so I understand.
Well, almost all 50,000 Texas police officers are a member. I think it's like 72% of law enforcement in Texas are a member of CLEAT.
I think it might be a little higher than that now, but yeah, it's up there. Yeah. Now, the problem,
but I don't think it's because they want to be, and I don't think it's because they believe in what CLEAT's doing. So I don't blame the law enforcement officers. I blame the guys that are out there lobbying and actually showing up and testifying against these bills.
Well, it's kind of like the two-party. To me, the two-party system is a false dichotomy. I mean, both sides are screwed up, and they're owned by the same banks. So it's like to think that you can pick one or the other. I mean, it's ridiculous. But the whole purpose of creating a two-party system was create that bottleneck, so things were harder to pass through. It wasn't all one-sided. Now, what's going on, I think, with the police is I don't know if it's subconscious or it's the way they were trained, but I talked about this the other day. We have that line where we can go up to, and we have our rights on one side of that line that we can go to the very extent of those rights. And then on the other side, we have the law, and we can't go over that line because it's against the law on the other side. So,
yeah.
And there's a push, though, because if we don't go up to that line on our side, we lose ground, and it gets pushed towards us. They're like, oh, it's that whole saying, if you don't use your rights, you're going to lose them. Well, that's just it. And what I think is because now that people are waking up to what their rights actually are, we have more people that are going right up against that line. So that's where the conflict's happening. Because a lot of times I think a police officer thinks, oh, they're close, we got to do something. You know what I mean? It's the battlegrounds. It's close, we got to do something. No, you don't do anything until someone crosses that line. But that's where we're having this issue now with what is exactly like the police call, oh, you're using the First Amendment to harass people. The last time I checked, the First Amendment wasn't exactly polite. It was supposed to be abrasive. Am I correct?
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. And there's what drives me nuts more than law enforcement saying this is those of us on the civilian side, on the citizen side, saying things like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Well, why not? If I'm not hurting anybody, if I'm not threatening anybody, if I'm not, infringing on someone else's rights, in many ways, I'm kind of a very libertarian person, in that I believe that I should be able to do whatever I want with my body and my life, as long as it doesn't interfere with you doing whatever you want to do with your body and your life. And we've got this idea that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And, well, why not? That's why we're losing stuff, because who gets to decide what we should do? If we can do something, we should do it as long as it doesn't hurt others. Should we do it? Well, yeah, as long as it furthers your happiness. I know that's a utilitarian way of thinking, but as long as it furthers your happiness, should you do something? Yeah. Does it make me happy to strap my rifle on my back and go for a bike ride? It makes me feel free. So should I do it? Absolutely. Well, people don't like it. I don't care.
Yeah,
there are a lot of things that people do every day I don't like, but I don't tell them to stop.
Well, I mean, my rights don't give a flying shit about your feelings. I mean, that's just the way it is. These are my rights. I also, at the same time, it's me. If I want to decide whether I want to be abrasive in public or not, I can decide that. But guess what? If I feel like using my rights to the extent, it's going to be abrasive, and you're going to have to get over it, because basically you forgot the country you live in. And I think that's the problem. This generation has forgotten the nation they live in. Literally, they're brought up on the TV. They don't know anything anymore. It's like the Constitution and everything being written in cursive. Why don't you think that's why they're not teaching cursive anymore in the schools? They don't want people to be able to read it.
I think the reason that people like us and people like a lot of the First Amendment auditors are so quote unquote abrasive is because we've been pushed into that corner. And we have to wonder, how did we get here? Why are people going around and filming police stations or filming government buildings? Well, because someone along the way was doing that for a very innocent reason, and the police decided they were going to get involved, or the state did, or whoever. And they decided, you know what, I don't like that you're doing that. And so instead of them just leaving the person alone, what they did was they created this entire movement of people who now go around and say, okay, we're going to do this until you stop harassing us. And when it becomes boring. And it's the same thing that we did in open carry Texas. If they weren't infringing on our rights, we wouldn't be out there carrying rifles everywhere we went. We wouldn't be out there pissing people off. But the thing is, we have the First Amendment not to protect speech that everybody agrees with, otherwise we wouldn't need it. It's to protect that speech that people find abrasive and find despicable and offensive and all that kind of stuff. And so we've also got a problem where people think that it's my job to make sure you don't get offended. No, it's your job to make sure you don't choose to be offended.
Yeah, it's not my fault you got butthurt. It really isn't. I don't understand this. It's not my fault you're butthurt at our Constitution. This is my right. You've forgotten about it. Get over it. Why don't you go read it and learn it? I mean, it's getting aggravating because I hear the argument, just because you can, should you? Well, yeah. And it drives me crazy because I like to shoot. I like to go to the range. I go to my farm, and, I take out coyotes that are harassing my cattle and stuff like that. I take care of things. I mean, and guess what? Guess what my gun of choice is? The one that makes it easy for me, and the one that is most effective for me in dealing with the varmints on the ranch is my AR-15. It's the most effective. It is the best gun. And let me tell you something. You get into a pack of hogs, wild hogs, and I've gotten into a pack of them, 30 of them at one time, and if you have a stupid bolt-action rifle, you are in trouble. You want something that can pump out a lot of rounds and do it quick. You want a high-capacity magazine.
Well, not only that, though, not only that, but I think what just happened in Portland is that Antifa did us a great service, because you've got Andy Ngo up there who was beaten to a pulp by a rabid group of pigs called Antifa. And if that is not a perfect example of why I need a 30-round magazine, I don't know what is. Because if I'm stuck to 5 or 10 rounds, I'm only able to take out 2 or 3 Antifa guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. I'm sorry,
But
you're not going to keep your government in check with a 5-round magazine. Because I'm not just worried about my personal preservation against, the thugs that are around the corner. I'm worried about my preservation against my thug that's sitting in the freaking government. That's the one. That's what the Second Amendment was written about. It wasn't about hunting. It was about keeping them in check. And you know something? I want them to be scared of me. I want my government to be scared of me. Because if my government is scared of me, they're going to behave. And they haven't been afraid of us for 50 years.
And that's what we've got to change.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I got banned on Twitter for basically telling the government just that. Okay, Eric Swalwell, you want to come for my guns? Well, you better kiss your family goodbye, because it's the last thing you'll do that night. And, because of the fact that I told my government that I am not going to be a victim, I will not be disarmed. Apparently, my right to defend myself is something that gets me banned on social media, but that's because the government needs that kind of speech suppressed. Because can you imagine if everyone in America suddenly realized that, no, you don't have to do something just because a government agency tells you to?
Yeah.
Or a government agent tells you to, or because a bunch of robed oligarchs in the Supreme Court said so? No, we're a free people. And can you imagine if everybody was truly woke, to use that stupid term, in a non-liberal way, but if everybody was truly woke about what liberty is and what their rights mean, government would have to back up a little bit. You wouldn't have 20 people at a debate talking about who's going to steal more of our money and more of our liberty. They'd be talking about who's going to protect our money and protect our liberty the most, because they'd be afraid of us. I want my government to be afraid of us. That's liberty. When I'm afraid of my government, that's tyranny.
Yeah. I want them to be shaking in their shoes. And it's funny you brought up Eric, and I love how you call him Swallows Well, and because that's what he does. And I mean, I'm surprised I didn't get banned from Twitter, because I left him a nice message on Twitter saying, hey, if you want my guns, come and get them. I will give them to you one bullet at a time in rapid succession. And and that's the way I feel. Look, I will always have my Second Amendment. I don't know about anybody else, but I will never be on the face of this earth without my Second Amendment, because the day I don't have it, it's because I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow my parents and my family, my wife and my kids, to be without protection. Because look, and police, they're always 15 minutes away. Someone breaks into my house, the police job is to come and put a body in a bag. That's what their job is. It's our job to determine which body's going in that bag, whether it's me or the bad guy. That's our choice. That's our decision. We have to decide, because I've heard way too many 911 calls where people are frantically telling the 911 operator, get the police here fast. They're coming through the window. We've all heard them. And the 911 call is saying, don't shoot them. Don't shoot them. And they're like, oh, no, I'm shooting them. We've heard that. I can't begin to tell you how many 911 calls I've heard where the 911 operator's pleading with them, don't shoot them, the police will be there soon. And, of course, 5 minutes after the old lady shot the guy dead, the police show up. And if she hadn't shot him, she'd be dead. So I understand there are some police that are really trying to do their job well, and they're trying to get to these calls, but You know, with Dallas being 600 police officers down, crime is going through the roof because they can't get to everything. So.
Well, and the problem is that people don't want to join law enforcement because they don't want to have to enforce unjust and immoral laws anymore, because enforcing unjust and immoral laws creates contention among the people who get, you know, there's nothing worse than being pulled over and having the government steal your money because they ticket you for a seatbelt violation, and the person that just ticketed you is a motorcycle cop.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. It's like school buses made before 1983 don't need to have seatbelts in them. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but let me tell you something. I have a friend that retired from the Dallas police force after 26 years. Okay. 26 years, was going to stay until 30 and then retired out of nowhere. And I said, what'd you retire for? He goes, I got tired. He goes, the Dallas police force isn't about fighting crime anymore. It's about revenue. He goes, and I was there to fight crime, and I'm done. I hear that over and over again. I have a friend that just retired in the Northeast from the police force, and after 23 years says, I am tired of it. I'm so glad I got out when I did, because it's bad now. He goes, I'm glad I'm out now, because it was more about revenue and less about fighting crime.
Well, yeah, because if it was about safety, if catching speeders was about safety, then they wouldn't be hiding behind trees and hills and in blind areas and behind buildings to trap people. They would be out there in the front. You know, I had a big conversation with my chief of police here because his officers kept hiding to catch speeders. And I said, this isn't about safety. This is about money. No, this is about safety. I go, well, let me ask you this, chief, because everybody knows this. When you see a police officer on the road, even if you're not speeding, when you see a police officer, what's the very first thing that you do, chief? And he's like, well, I move over. I'm like, no, I mean, think about it. What's the first thing you do when you see a cop? Well, I check my speed. Exactly. So why would you want to hide your police officer? If just the presence of a police officer is going to cause people to slow down, why hide? Put yourself out there for everyone to see. Be on top of that hill so they can see you miles away and slow down miles away, instead of right when they get on you. If this is truly about safety and not about revenue, then, you know, like we've got a city, Belton, near where I live, and they put unmarked cars. They just kind of put them throughout the city in different places every day, and they leave them there. There's nobody in the vehicle. But you drive by those vehicles, and all you see is people tapping on their brake lights because they see a cop up there.
Yep.
And they don't know that there's no cop in there until they get up there. That's safety. But when you're just out there hiding behind bridges and signs, it's about revenue. And I think that's why places like Dallas, it's not that people don't respect cops anymore. It's that cops are tired of raising revenue for the state. They want to be, you know, I was an explorer. I wanted to be a cop. I got criminal justice. I was going to be a police officer. I wanted to be a military police officer, but I was too short. So I went into counter intel. And when I retired, I wanted to be a police officer, but my arrest changed all of that when I started seeing the system from within. And, but officers don't want any part of being a part of the revenue enhancement, because people resent them, not because they're enforcing the law or solving crimes. No one ever resents a police officer who catches a car thief because they got your car back. But when you start stealing their money because they're doing 5 miles over the speed limit, or they don't have a seatbelt on, or maybe their blinker was busted, then that's resentment, and they don't want that. Close the door.
Yeah, it's. I mean, when they came out with the seatbelt law, I'm like, are you kidding me? And the first thing I said, because I used to ride motorcycles, they said, if it was truly about safety, then motorcycles would be illegal. It doesn't make any sense. If I want to drive my vehicle, and I don't, I wear a seatbelt, but that's just because I'm comfortable with it. But if I don't want to drive with a seatbelt, shouldn't that be my right? If I'm allowed to ride a motorcycle, and you know, it makes no sense. In the school bus thing, in the city buses, there's no seatbelts in city buses. What makes that any difference? How many times have we seen city buses get into crashes? I was on a city bus in Rhode Island years ago when I was younger that got into an accident. Man, we were bouncing inside that thing like a bunch of coins in a soda can. And people got hurt.
you know, a lot of this also is the problem with federalism. The states have given up their 10th Amendment rights and surrendered it to the almighty dollar of the federal government. And so a lot of the problems that we have in our states are because the federal government has mandated a lot of these programs. In order to get highway dollars, you've got to have a seatbelt law. In order to get highway dollars, you have to mandate this much insurance that each person must carry. In order to get highway dollars, you must do this and that and that and this. And, you know, the states have become beggars. And instead of doing what the states should do, which the states should be saying, you know what? I'm not going to beg you for my money. I'm just going to stop sending it to you. And we'll manage our own highway programs. Instead of doing that, the federal government has bought off our police departments through these laws that they forced the states. You know, we just last session, there was a big, here in Texas, there's a big debate that a bill that got resurrected. It was already dead. And it was to mandate that every vessel on water, so whether it's a kayak, a boat, a jet ski, whatever, was required to have a whistle. Why? Because federal dollars were at stake, because state law didn't comport with federal regulation, and they wanted those federal dollars. And the bill initially died. Everyone made fun of it, but it was brought back at the last minute and passed. And so now, when I'm on my kayak, I have to have a whistle. So when I'm drowning underwater, I better make sure I can blow that whistle.
Okay.
But that's what it is. It's the federal government has forced a lot of these laws on the states, and that's because they're whoring themselves out to the federal government for dollars.
Okay. One last question, and this is for the average Joe that maybe doesn't want to get into activism. What would you advise them to do? There
are two things that people can do to make a difference. And everyone can do at least one of these things, and that's time or money. And not a lot of people have time on their hands to go and testify or you know, strap on a gun or a camera or whatever and go to a protest or a rally or whatever. I get that. People are busy, especially these days. You know, Uncle Sam, there's a lot of illegal immigrants counting on us to go to work tomorrow. So. And the other thing is money. If you don't have time, then everyone's got money. Now, they might not have a lot of money, but I'm telling you, every single person, no matter how much they make, can spare $5 a month. I guarantee you they've bought that in cigarettes, in sodas, in coffees, in McDonald's or whatever. And so if you can't spare your time, spare your money. If you can't spare your money, spare your time. But nobody who is honest can say they can't spare either. Because if you don't have a job and you're not making money, well, then that means you got all the time in the world. I know for a fact people aren't spending 24 hours a day looking for a job. And if you've got a job where you're working 7 days a week, then you've at least got some money. So find a cause that you believe in, whatever that cause is, and dedicate. You know, I'm a church going man. 10% of my money goes to church because I just believe in that. That's me personally. So even if I'm not making a lot of money, 10% of 100 or 10% of 10, it doesn't matter. It's 10%. So find $5 a month, or, you know, in Open Carry, Texas, we ask our members, the people that support us, to be what we call a high caliber donor. And we say, okay, if you really want to support us, but you can't get out there to do what we're doing, then donate. You know, if you're a 223 guy, donate $2.23 a month. Everybody. There's not a single person in the world that can't afford to donate $2.23 a month.
That is true.
Or $5.56 a month.
Yeah, donate your caliber. Yeah.
Yeah, donate the caliber of your choice.
Yeah.
But whatever that cause is, find a cause, find somebody who's fighting the fight that you believe in, or find a group that's fighting the fight that you believe in. And if you can't help them with your body, help them with your money. And it doesn't matter if it's $1. I mean, gosh, you've got all these Democrat candidates begging for $1 from people. Well, so are the activists.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've got 50,000 people donating $1 each month, well, that's $50,000 a month that can make a big difference.
This is true. And
Cutie says, how much have I donated? Oh my gosh. I mean, how much money have we given to open carry Texas. At least. I mean, okay, yeah, my wife doesn't even want me to get started on how much money we. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put my money where my mouth is. I actually don't charge open carry Texas for as much as I should be for gas and food and hotels and stuff like that I should be getting reimbursed for, but that's sort of my donation to the cause. Now, if I'm having a tight month, I might have OCT pay for my gas to get down to Austin. But other than that, no, I donate to OCT. I donate to people's fundraisers if they get falsely arrested. And it might not be a lot. It might be just $5, but
yeah.
You know, yeah.
When is your? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
No, go ahead.
When is your next rally? Because I asked you a while back. Please do one in North Texas, somewhere in the Metroplex, because I want to get involved with it. Are you going to do one up here? Are you planning to do something in North Texas with an open carry march?
Well, we have a group up there in Dallas. So if you're on social media, there's OCT. I think it's OCT DFW or OCT Dallas County or OCT Tarrant County. I can't remember. But you know, I'm one guy. But anybody in open carry Texas, you guys can do a rally at any given point. Generally, the only time we do big rallies is when somebody's been falsely arrested and we need to rally the troops, you know, and do something big. Otherwise, if anyone wants to say, hey, I want to do a rally on this day at this time, all anyone has to do is send us the information and we'll put it out there and we'll help bring it publicity.
Yeah.
This is how I say I'm just a small rudder on a big ship, and I don't take the credit for open carry because a lot of people did this and all I did was steer them.
Yeah.
And so it's the same way with these open carry rallies. If you all want one there in North Texas, we're more than willing to help put it together. But I just, as one person, I can't manage rallies in North Texas, East Texas, West Texas, South Texas. It's just too big of a state. If this was Rhode Island, I could definitely do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. When I moved here 20 years ago, it was a big shock seeing that Rhode Island is the size of the Metroplex. Yeah. So, yeah. That's the whole state pretty much. 40 miles top to bottom, 25 miles wide. That's Rhode Island.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. So I have to say, I mean, I could talk for hours with you on this because, like I said, I've been a Second Amendment activist since I was 19 years old. As soon as I could go and buy a rifle. And been involved ever since then. I taught U.S. Constitution in college. Currently, I am a graphic designer by trade. That's what I do, but I've been, Second Amendment is my life. That's what I've been doing since I was a little kid, and I want my kids to be able to do that, and that's why I fight for it. Because once it's gone, we're gone. It's just, I won't be here if it's gone. But anyway, I thank you so much for coming in here. Guys, please go subscribe to CJ Grisham. He's got a great channel. He does a great service. I love watching his stream and listening to him. Please go subscribe to this man and help him out. And I thank you, sir. And I have a link to your YouTube channel in the notes that'll stay up with the stream. And you've got my support, okay? If you need something, just give me a holler. You got my phone number now.
And a few people have asked about an Almost Park update, so I'll kind of tell you where we are really quick.
Sure.
We've been waiting. We haven't let them off the hook. Both Jim and I have had many medical issues. Jim had to get shoulder surgery because they tore ligaments in his arm. I've been going through neurology and because I've been having migraines since this happened. I've got memory loss, difficulty thinking, stuff like that. But anyway, what we were waiting on is for all of our medical issues to finally resolve and find out what the actual damages were that Almost Park gave to us. We've just finished all that. I just had my last neurology appointment. We pinpointed where the nerve damage is in my head that's causing the migraines. So now we've let the attorneys know, okay, we can go ahead and file the lawsuit now because there's not going to be, now it's just we know what the medical conditions are. I'm going to have to be getting nerve blocks on a regular basis from now on. I take a migraine med now. And Jim's got to deal with these scars that he's got and limited movement in his left shoulder. So now we know what the damages are. And they have offered us a settlement, but I can't talk about it.
Yeah,
and I'll just say it's laughable anyway.
Yeah.
So we are going to file a lawsuit, and we've just let our attorney know to go ahead and kick that off. But, I mean, everyone knew we were going to file a lawsuit. It's just a matter of when. So now we should start having some updates here pretty soon.
Awesome. Again, my friend, thank you so much. And I would love, with anything that'll happen in the news in the future, I would love to have you back on and discuss
Anytime.
that. Okay. You take care, my friend.
Hey, you too, and thanks for everything that you do, and all of your supporters out there. Thank you for supporting people like Steve. This is how liberty gets spread.
Okay, my friend. Have a good evening.
All right, take care.
Yep. Okay, everyone. That was CJ Grisham. Love what he does. Been following him for a while, and I'm so glad I was able to have him on the stream. I felt that was so much information, and it was such an awesome conversation. I never went to break. I'm not going to bother doing a second half of the stream tonight, so we'll continue the game that we normally play next week. And hey, guys, if you like what I do here, please help support the stream. I have different ways you can do it. I just bought some more equipment, and the only way I can get the equipment that I get was because I have a Patreon with some people on there that, that donate money every month, and, a little bit, and it helped, and I was able to get a new piece of equipment that will be here. Well, it's here. It'll be hooked up by next week because I have to redo the studio. So, like I said, if you want to support the stream, you can do that through Super Chats. You can do it through PayPal. Thanks, Roy, for putting that up there. Or you can go to my Teespring account and buy something. You guys, all the links to that stuff is in the show notes. I appreciate anything I get from you guys. Guys, every penny I get in donation goes right back into the stream. I buy more and more equipment to make it better and better and better. Now we're able to do a little better with the phone conversations. I've been able to isolate it now. So everything is going completely through the mixing board, not just the voice coming in, but my voice going out to the person on the phone. And that took a little finagling. But yeah, this is how I want to improve the stream. We're going to have more and more guests on. God, Roy, that's funny. And like I said, I really, really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much, Sergeant, for the super chat, and Greta for the super chat. That'll move me closer to my goal, because you need like $100 in funds before YouTube will even pay you. And we're not there yet. Guys, I do not make a ton of money at this. But it'd be nice to, like I said, get more equipment. That's what I do. So this is what's going on. We will be back. I don't know if I'm going to do another stream this weekend. I like to do a stream from the garage with just the phone, smoking a cigar, have a conversation. I might do something like that this weekend. I don't know. Maybe Friday night or Saturday night. I don't know. But that's about all I'm going to do this weekend. And man, I'm pumped. I don't know how I'm going to get to sleep tonight. I'm pumped. I've been waiting to do this interview, and I'm so excited about this. Hey, man, and I'm still pumped up. It's always good to have good guests on. Oh my God, you guys. It was so difficult, you guys, to have the conversations I was having on that, talking with CJ. When you guys, some of the stuff you're coming out with in the chat was making me, I was trying not to laugh. Thank you so much, Roy. Everybody, absolutely enjoy your 4th of July tomorrow. I'm going to be lighting off some fireworks. That's why we're not streaming tomorrow night. Spend that with my family, being very thankful for the soldiers that allow us to have this 4th of July. Okay, the ones that have given everything, that never got home, never came home. I thank those people, and I thank the ones that came home too. Thank you for my 4th of July and the fact that I can still celebrate it. God bless you all. Oh, I ain't letting that one go. I had to come back on. Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much for that super chat. Good night, everyone.